Welcome to the Nikki Clarke Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nikki Clarke, and I am thrilled to be back with yet another stellar interview. The show is where we spotlight extraordinary individuals who are transforming lives, breaking barriers, and empowering others to live with purpose. Today's guest is Dr. Mylira Cary, an elite transformation strategist, licensed clinical social worker, author, speaker, and CEO of M Green Enterprises and the Metamorphosis Healing Experience. With expertise in mental health, leadership, trauma recovery, and personal transformation, Dr. Cary is passionate about helping individuals break free from limitations, heal from past wounds, and boldly embrace their purpose. Through her work, she empowers people to transform their pain into power and move from feeling stuck to living fully aligned lives. A graduate of Norfolk State University and the University of Southern California, Dr. Cary also earned her PhD in organizational leadership from Regent University. Above all, she's a devoted wife, mother, leader, and advocate whose passion for healing and legacy is deeply rooted in her love for family and community. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Mylira Cary. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's an honor to have you. So I would love for everyone to get to know your journey. Tell us a little bit about your journey and what inspired your passion for helping others heal and transform.
Well, I'm so glad you asked that. For me, it was truly, I stumbled into my purpose. When I
Yeah.
was preparing to pick my career, I went through what I would say a trauma my senior year of my high school, and I was
Mhm.
really depressed that at that time I didn't have the capacity to think about my future, let alone think about what I wanted to do next. But I
Mhm.
have a wonderful mother who is an educator that studied me, and I did not understand why she chose the field path that she did because social work was not the path I wanted. I wanted to be a teacher, just like my mom. But as she was applying for different colleges and things for me, I had a mentor who was a social worker, and she kept saying, Mylira, you remind me so much of her. And she
Mhm.
chose social work. So when I started to actually get into my core classes, I realized that social work is who I am and it's my purpose. But the reason why I kept going through it is because I promised to become the person that I didn't have growing up. Being someone who was from a middle class household and my family was very close knit and we were doing every ministry underneath the sun and we was doing every activity and we were the family. No one ever
Uh-huh.
took time to ask, are you okay? And
Right.
I was struggling for a long time because my trauma didn't just start my senior year of high school, but it started when I was 3 years old when I was introduced to sexual play. So for me,
Mhm.
there was a space of now that equals love. Or, if I'm not in a relationship with someone, then I'm not lovable. So then I started to struggle. Then I also ended up struggling with my body image because I was diagnosed as being morbidly obese when I was 13. So now I
Mhm.
have this struggle that's going on that I don't even understand because I'm too young to understand it. Then when I finally get old enough, not only am I trying to rectify the things that I've done or experienced from 3 to 13, but now I'm trying to find who I am because I'm this morbidly obese girl and all the things that came with that. So once I got to college and social work was what my mom chose, but I was on the other side of a suicide attempt, that's when I realized,
Mhm.
God, there's purpose in my life. And the things that I've experienced, the things that I have endured was not just for me, but it was to help other people that was in my same shoes that literally just need someone to ask, are you okay?
Mhm.
And then making
Right.
sure that they know that it's okay to not be that way, but learning the resources and tools to pull them from that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're
So you
welcome.
talked about your defining moment in your life that led you to the work. How did your personal experiences influence your commitment to mental health and leadership?
For me, it's a space of when you are someone that has done all the schooling to get all the knowledge that I have, but yet there are moments where I still struggle. I
Mm,
knew that I had to commit to that person that may have not have the same tools that I have been afforded, or may not
yeah.
have, or may not have the same actual resources and support. So what I tell people is my purpose in life is when I die, suicide die with me. And many people choose that route not because they want to be selfish or any of that, but they want the pain to go away. And typically
Mhm.
that pain comes from wanting something different in life. So if I can be that person to show that if you don't do not one more thing, if you don't accomplish not one more thing, if you don't get married, if you don't have kids, if you aren't successful, whatever it is that you haven't done, you're still important and you're still enough. So because personally I know the weight of the pain that mental health sometimes carries. Personally,
Mhm.
I know what it looks like when you're 1 second away from giving up. But in
Yes.
professionally, I know that if I just continue to be honest with myself and I shift my perspective and I allow my cognitions to be reformed and I do the different steps, I marry the two together, my personal and my professional, to say,
Mhm.
hey, I'll walk alongside you. I'm not going to bleed on you and say, hey, every client I meet with, I'm not going to sit there and use their time for my story. However, as they're sharing their story, my personal experiences give me another level of empathy where
Mhm.
I'm not looking for the lie in their story, but I'm looking into what can we change to fix your story. What can we change to make your story go a different direction? I can't change what has already happened, but I can empower you to make different choices so that your tomorrow looks a little bit better. So that's how I've been able to kind of bridge my personal and professional. And as far as leadership go, being someone that has been in the field for 12 years now, many people I meet don't leave their jobs because they hate what they do. A lot of them go to
Mhm.
another company and do the same exact job, but they leave because of leadership. So now that I
Right.
have taken the time to study, to learn, to implement, to get trained, to get certified, I want to be able to share my knowledge with others so that we're not bleeding on our clients. I have this saying, I say, what is it worth being a superhero if the red of your cape is from the wounds you refuse to heal from? So as a
Mhm.
leader, I have to show people it's not about being what I call Captain Save-A-Ho, but it truly is about sitting down and listening to what that person has going on and filling in the gap. So on the leadership side of things, that's what I do. I share the knowledge that I've had. I share the experiences that I had. I consult. I do staffing. And that allows for me to be a transformational leader that just doesn't transform those I work with, but that I can serve them where they are.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. You are known as an elite transformation strategist. And what does transformation truly mean to you?
Transformation truly means to me that I am not trying to wipe away my experiences, but I'm empowering myself to create the next level for myself. So it
Mm,
doesn't mean, so a lot of times people ask me, Mylira, with everything that you've experienced, how did you forgive that person or how did you move forward? And I realize that thing no longer has power over me because it's already happened, it's already gone to pass. So when I'm talking about transformation, especially when it comes to being in the workplace, is we can't keep saying, well, we've always done it this way. Because if you've always done it this way, and we still haven't reached a different outcome, we need to do something different. So transformation for
right.
me truly looks like eating the meat, spitting out the bones. My children's father used to say that to me all the time. Everything that happens, there's some type of nutrients you can get from it. Some may be chicken breast, where you can take a bunch of stuff from it, or sometimes it may be curry goat, where there's way more bones than it is meat. But when we're transforming, I'm going to take all the things that I've learned, all the things that I have at my hands, whether it's resources, support, or help, and I'm going to take
Mhm.
the steps to allow for me to transform, not change because change is inevitable. So that means I'm going to always change, but a transformation looks like going into a totally different direction than where you were going before.
Fantastic. Many people feel stuck in life. What are some of the most common barriers that prevent people from moving forward?
One of the biggest ones that I've seen, especially working with individuals with trauma, has been lack of forgiveness. For
Mm,
some reason, forgiveness and forgetting has been looked at as two congruent themes, and they're not. When I forgive someone, I'm not forgetting what has happened, but I'm forgiving them so that it no longer has control or power over my life. I'm forgiving them because when something happens to me, whoever I'm upset with, they're going through their life and they're living their best life while I'm sitting here stuck and I'm sitting here, confused or hurt.
mhm,
Lack of forgiveness is one of the biggest things. And people always say, well, if I do that, then basically I'm giving them a go, get out of jail free card. And I'm like, no, what you're doing is you're freeing yourself to
right.
make this chance to say, I'm choosing me today. And no matter what that person has done, or no matter what circumstance I've experienced, I'm going to keep going forward. So that's one piece that I've realized. A second piece would be the voice of others. Um, Growing up, a lot of the times when it comes to children, parents, families, and those who have authority over the child tends to tell them how to think, how to move, what to dress, what activities they should do, what they can't do. You're being told what to do, and then when you're 18 years old, miraculously, you're supposed to be independent enough to make your own decisions. But what ends up happening is you have 18 years of programming, and that's the voice that is in your head. And there are more people that have heard that they will never be anything, whether someone said it verbally or with their actions. There are people
Mhm,
who have heard you're not enough, whether again said verbally or through actions. There are many people that feel like they're invisible or they're not enough. So when it comes to the perception or the words that they say to themselves, those core beliefs, that tend to keep people unstuck because they take it on as if it's their reality. And that's
mhm,
why a lot of times when people do come in and I work with them as their therapist, I do a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy because we want to dismantle the core beliefs because there's no
mhm,
validity to many of them. And what we can do, the
mhm.
same way we believe the negative things, we can turn around and practice the positive things until we believe the positive things. But those are the two biggest, the non-forgiving and then the voices of other people, what other people have said or done to us that makes us believe we are less than or not valuable.
Oh, thank you. Why is mental health awareness more important than ever?
It is so important because Les Brown says it this way. Most people die at age 30, they just don't get buried until they're 70. If you
Mm,
already stop living in your brain, nothing's going to spark you to live again. And the same way we deal with our physical health, if you have a brain, you have a mental health. And mental health is not poor health. It's literally just you have a brain. And it's important because what you focus on is what comes to pass. So if your brain is only focused on the negative things of life, then you're never going to see positive. I know some miserable millionaires and I know some happy homeless people. And it all
mhm,
starts up here, what they're telling themselves, the stories that they're telling themselves. Our reality literally has zero to do with what we see, but all to do with what we believe. So mental health is important because now we need to challenge our belief system. Are we
mhm,
believing that thing that we said that we're going to accomplish? Are we going to actually see that relationship be fruitful? Are we going to actually finish school and college? Is our kids going to be successful? All the things that we question, your brain tells you the actual story first, and then your life follows suit. So mental health is very important because the life you're living starts in your mind first. So if that's the case, then we have to actually deal with the root of it. And then we'll see so many more people living fruitful lives. And not because they're millionaires, not because they got a Fortune 500 position, not because their level of influence, but because in their brain they realize I'm valuable just where I am. And their life is going to follow from that.
fantastic. Dr. Mylira, what are some common misconceptions about therapy, healing, and emotional wellness?
One of the misconceptions that I think of is it's the therapist's job to fix me. When a person comes to me, they're the expert of their life, not me. So I can only take them as far as they're honest with themselves. So I can have an agenda and a game plan. And a lot of times I'll hear people say, well, this therapist wasn't a good fit. And I tell people sometimes finding the right therapist is like finding a good pair of shoes. You may have to keep trying because I may be an amazing therapist, but I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I have to be okay with that. So that's the first piece of it, is that your therapist is going to be the one to help you solve your problem. No, what
Mhm.
your therapist is going to do is give you a safe environment like waste management that helps you distinguish between your trash or your waste and your recyclables. Your trash and your waste are the things that you have no control over. So the people, places, and things, we can't always change that. The person that did something to you, you can't go back and change that situation. But what I can do is figure out the recyclables. What was the lesson that you learned? If everybody has done the same thing to you, then let's figure out what actual core belief are you telling yourself that's allowing for this to manifest in your life. So that's the job of the therapist, is to do waste management. And you come in with
Mhm.
the open spirit. The second piece of this is knowing what resource to really use. Therapy is for people who are still on the process of healing, where coaching is for the person that has gone through healing and they just need to pull out of them the next best step for them. So for people, not mixing them up, because sometimes someone will go to a coach and might not have a good experience to say, well, I'm never going to go to therapy again, when it was never a therapist. So it's understanding those levels of resources. And then the last piece of this, honestly, is it starts within. I am a therapist that have had a therapist since I was 17 years old. I'm a great therapist that is diagnosed with PTSD. But what I've learned in this space is when I own my truth is when no one else can own it for me. So when I showed up to my
Mhm.
sessions, I showed up because I knew it was something in me that needed to be different. I knew it was something in me that I wanted to change. So don't do it for anyone else. I remember when I was going through relationship counseling with my children's father, and the one thing that our counselor was telling us was, you can't change the other person, you can only change you. So sometimes it might be changing your perspective of someone else. Sometimes it might be changing your response to someone else. So it's this misconception that it's everybody else's problem, when in reality, I'm the one creating my own experience, not the other
Mhm.
person. So learning that. So again, that one piece is the therapist is not the person that's going to give you the answer. Understanding the difference between the resources between therapist and coach. And then lastly, really owning up to you. Like what am I doing in this situation? Not I'm a problem. However, how am I thinking? What can I do differently to shift the trajectory of my life? Those are the three things, really taking that ownership.
I love how you made the analogy of, the therapist being the kind of the waste management expert and helping you to, compartmentalize, recyclables, waste, what have you. I think that's brilliant. And also the distinction between therapy and coaching. I just learned that today. So thank you for, those pearls of wisdom. So
You're welcome.
before we wrap up, I really would love for you to share a little bit about the metamorphosis healing experience and the impact it's making.
Oh my goodness. So the metamorphosis healing experience was birthed probably about 7 years ago now.
Mm.
And I remember when I first had my daughter, I was in a space of being a scared first time mom. I had lost two children before her, so you could not tell me she was coming until she came. And when she came, I promised myself that I would never waste track of time being fearful of what could happen and miss what has happened. So when I
Mhm.
had her 10 years ago, I did a coaching program. It was life coaching and it was teaching me the process. But as I was going through that, it just felt like something was missing. So then the
Mhm.
metamorphosis experience was created from utilizing my first book, which is The Art of Just Being Me, where I help people walk through 8 steps of who they truly are as a person. And what I realize is people aren't stuck because they want to be stuck. They're stuck because they truly don't know what the first step is to get unstuck. And that first step is being able to go back to who you are. Going back to what I said, people from 18 and earlier, you have someone telling you about your life, how you're going to move, who you are, what you're going to be, yes or no, all of that. And then when you're 18, it's this like free for all, go do your life and you got it. That doesn't help
Yeah.
people. So what the metamorphosis
Mhm.
experiences does is clear the noise from everyone else and allow for you to get to who you are. And the truth of the matter is there's not two people that's the same. You're the expert of you. You have differences for a reason. I do a lot of the Myers-Briggs assessments as well. So really looking at your personality and how you show up. And it's not just for the workplace, but how you show up in relationships, as a family, as friends. It talks about your career, but it really talks about how you engage with people. And then I like to tell people that I don't focus on your weaknesses to say there's something wrong with you, but I focus on your weaknesses as the actual key to healthy relationships. If you acknowledge what makes you weak, it allows for you to have someone you trust cover that weakness for you. So it builds those relationships. We go through your love languages. It really is a space where people find themselves. And it's been so successful that I actually had a client, because I also do it with my therapy clients, because it's more of like a personal development. And before we can even touch CBT, I need you to know who you are. Because I'm not going to decipher between your mom voice. I need to decipher between your voice. So I had one young lady that came for trauma treatment. And after the 8 weeks, I said, okay, well, now it's time for us to go and do CBT because I have a whole program that I take my clients through. And she was like, you know what, Mylira? I don't need any more sessions. I was like, what do you mean? You came here for trauma. We haven't even done trauma narrative, none of that. She said, because I now know who I am, I can go on the job that I had panic attacks and be completely fine. And I said, well,
Mm.
what changed? She said, I was giving somebody else power when I'm the one that's in control. And
Mhm.
we finished her sessions, trauma therapy, in 8 weeks just from doing the metamorphosis experience. So that is what this program really is really to help people uncover who, and I'm very spiritual, so that's just how I have to be, but who God has made them to be. And that's what I created was that professional and personal development of coming back to you so that you can walk fully in who you are. And then all the other things is structured on top of your foundation that you create.
Brilliant. All right. I want to engage you in some rapid fire questions. So these are first questions that come to mind, one word, very, just like one sentence. Here we go. What
Okay.
does success mean to you?
Mm. Fulfilling purpose.
Okay. Next one. One word that describes your leadership style.
Metamorphic.
Next. What book has had the greatest impact on your life?
3 feet from gold. And I don't remember the author, but 3 feet from gold definitely has helped me.
Gotcha. Next one. What daily habit contributes most to your success?
Talking to God all the time.
And the next one is complete this sentence. Transformation begins when.
Hmm. When you admit that you have room to grow.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, well, we're going to wrap up with our closing question. And the question is, if you could leave our audience with one message about healing, purpose, and living boldly, what would it be?
I would say that life can restart every second, and it is okay to press restart thousands of times. Your life story was already written before you even moved in your mother's womb. So the things that you feel may discount you, negate you, and all of that has already been covered. So you have to believe in yourself because everything you need is already inside of you. And healing is not just a one-way thing. It is truly a daily thing of choosing to be the best version of yourself each and every day.
Fantastic. Dr. Mylira Cary, thank you for sharing your vision, your wisdom, your expertise, and inspiring us through your incredible journey. And your commitment to helping others heal, grow, and step into their purpose is changing lives and creating a lasting legacy of transformation. So for those watching us right now who would like to connect with you on social media, how can they do that?
So the biggest platform I use is Facebook. I am a little bit on that side, but you can literally type in Mylira Cary, and I do engage with that. I am on other platforms under Mylira Transforms, and if you want inspirational messages and things like that, on YouTube is Transforming with Mylira, and hopefully something that I give be that daily bread for you to be able to start your transformation.
Thank you again for this incredible conversation. Conversations that matter, that is what the Nikki Clarke Show embraces. So I truly appreciate your time, Dr. Cary. You've been watching the Nikki Clarke Show with Dr. Mylira Cary. Please reach out to her on social media, predominantly Facebook, and be inspired, be transformed. So thank you again for joining us, and see you next time with more transformations, stories that transform. Bye for now.